All right. Well, welcome to the Viking Press Pass here on a Tuesday night. And joining me today from the men's basketball team, student manager Kade Ariano. So, Kade, thanks for joining me.
No, thanks for having me. I'm excited here to talk today.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I think you're maybe a little shocked. I reached out and said, "Hey, I want to talk to the student, the student manager." So, I mean, it's a super important role you have on the team. So, why do you think I wouldn't want to talk to you?
I like to do a lot of my work in the background, so it's pretty cool. Get the opportunity to talk, but looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Well, let's maybe get started just around like the topic of the path to becoming the manager. Can you maybe just share, a little bit of a background about yourself, and then, how did you become the student manager for the basketball team for the last 4 years?
So really, I've just always been around sports. I played three sports growing up, and um, kind of came to an end after high school. But one of my friends, he was a year older than me, was the student manager at Augie my freshman year, and he reached out to me. He's like, "Hey, looking to bring a second guy on. Would you like to come on?" And I was like, "Yeah, I enjoy sports. I think I could kind of just help out." And so it's really how I first got the spot. And he ended up leaving the next year, so I was like, "Okay, now I'm the only manager now." But so I've just always really been around sports and was kind of given the opportunity to just come on that first year. So it's really how I got the role there.
Now, how did he sell you on, because I mean, going from a multi-sport athlete to, more of like an operations support, type role. How do you kind of sell you on that? And, what was your kind of initial thought going into what it would be like?
Well, it was pretty kind of a difficult sell. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do coming out of high school. Had a couple opportunities to play football, couple different CCIW schools and some smaller schools for basketball, but really was just kind of over it and gave it up. So once I told him I was thinking about just giving it all up and just coming to be a student, he's like, "You're gonna miss all the connections with the guys and all the camaraderie that sports bring." And so he really sold me on that. And coming in, I was a little skeptical. I was like, "All right, played all these sports, like I'm not gonna be able to impact the team as much," but it's really been a different look and a different focus than I'm used to. So it took a lot of selling by Danny Ford. It was his name, but he got it done,
Yep.
and it's kind of taken over from there.
Yeah. So what's been your main responsibilities just as a student manager?
Just trying to figure out Coach Delp's next move. Trying to have everything set up for him just for his
That's not
next
going to
move.
work
But
if you're trying to figure it out. He keeps everything in the dark.
yeah, no, he does. But just really trying to set everything up and have everything ready to go so we can operate
Mhm.
practices and games as smoothly as possible. Just looking every day to kind of have everything perfect and in the right spots so we can just have things flow smoothly.
So how's that role? I mean, year one, you're a freshman, and how did that role kind of change and evolve now to your senior year? I would think that, more responsibilities would come on, other tasks would be added, right? Because you're more experienced, a lot more capable, a lot more knowledgeable, and probably ready and willing to take on more. So how is it, what were some of the things that maybe you did as a freshman year, and how does that really kind of evolved, over the past 4 years?
Yeah, so my freshman year, I was really just in charge of one thing. I was in charge of the laundry, and I've kind of since moved away from that. But it's kind of been just each year I've been gaining more responsibility. But a couple of things now that I do that I never did as a freshman is like I run the clock and take stats during practice, and it's kind of even transitioned into getting in and having to be a bigger body in practice when guys are hurt. So kind of just transitioned a lot, just for the better, I would say. But one of Coach Delp's biggest things is learning how to delegate for me because won't be here next year, so he's been trying to have me delegate more of the jobs to our other manager, Nico. So we've been working on delegating more jobs so he can take some of the responsibility and learn the ropes a little better.
Yeah, you always got to have a good secession plan, as well there. Now you said you do stats during practice as well.
Yeah, we do. We stat deflections, turnovers, rebounds, and hustle plays. So
You know, um, Coach Delp is, strikes me as definitely a kind of a numbers guy, an analytics guy. I've even just seen, whether it's the platform, but behind the stat box, there's been a number of things that, he seems to really get behind and enjoys looking at. And, I'm sure, and there's certainly, some method to the madness there and things that are important to him. And, now are you also doing some of that stuff during the game too? Because I see you up and around, going to that, head table, kind of moving around, talking to, some of the different coaches. Like, what are you doing on game day?
on game day, I'm just a big cheerleader is kind of how I like to describe it.
Mhm.
But Nico, I would call him assistant second manager. He's a junior this year. He takes the stats during the games, and really, I'm there to just kind of calm some players down when they come off, or kind of pick their heads up, and then I run off the whiteboard at the timeouts, and I also carry Coach Delp's icebreakers. Take a lot of pride in that. So whenever he's got a dry mouth, I get him an icebreaker. So those are kind of my game day jobs.
What I mean, so being, it's a whole different perspective, right? You went from a multi-sport athlete, to this kind of more support cast. How has the perspective of someone who, was, pretty good at basketball? I saw, a couple of things you've done there, for Geneseo. What have you learned more about the game being a student manager and kind of sitting in that seat as opposed to a player?
I've learned a lot about just how to kind of run a team and how to like get guys behind a lot of different things. I mean, you kind of learn what it takes to be successful and what it takes to, have things go the right way, have everything go the right way. And just, there's a lot of things that you take for granted when you're a player that like, you don't realize are getting done behind the scenes. So I've kind of learned all those different things that happen. And, someone's got to, roll the ball rack out before the game, set the clock, do all those things. So I've kind of seen a whole different dimension of the game.
Yeah. Um, Now, what are like some of the biggest like challenges you kind of faced in your role, whether it's during, preparation or game day? What are some of those bigger challenges you faced or maybe have faced?
One of the biggest challenges that I face on the daily is I never quite know what the gym's going to look like when I walk in. Just having one space, the Carver Center, and so many teams, you never really quite know what it's going to look like. Especially right about now when we've got a bunch of different sports using that space. Today we had baseball on right before us, so of course they've got all the hoops up and the nets up and the cages down, and kind of trying to flip that as fast as possible to the more traditional basketball arena with the hoops down. Just one of the biggest challenges because Coach Delp's itching to go right away, and guys are ready to go right away, but can't really play basketball without the hoops. So just trying to deal with kind of knowing what I have to prioritize at the start of every practice to get us going right on time. It's a big challenge.
Now, with the other sports coming in, I was talking about this with Mike Hamilton, Carly Stone, and Colton, Gillingham. Well, I mean, two of those are your roommates. So,
Yeah.
um, but I was talking to them about like with some of the additional sports coming in now and using Carver a bit more. It seemed like the floor, like the basketball court, Saturday was a bit oily. Um, you know, how do you, start to kind of rectify that a little bit and, and ensuring that like the court's well prepared and ready to go for the basketball team, but, also knowing like it's there for other teams as well, to use.
That's a really tough one. I try and wet mop the floor, but so I take two towels, wet them down, and put them on a mop, and kind of go around the floor and clean it off. But that takes 20 minutes. So if baseball's ending right at noon and we're starting at noon, it's just something you can't quite get done. So we have these, they're called stomp mats. They're brand new. We got them about a week ago that we've been placing out around the gym that kind of help clean off guys' feet and shoes so they can have a little traction on the floor. But it makes a big difference having all the other sports teams out there. And I'm sure the court's a little slippery for them too. So just really trying to wet mop that floor before games is a big one.
Yeah, 100%. Now, has there been any like, do you have any kind of like, I don't know, maybe like funny stories or like any like big mistakes that you kind of look back and say like it was, God, that was dumb. In kind of your role or anything like that. I mean, because like you said, it's all kind of behind the scenes. So I think for you, it's probably Aaron something about your own self maybe here a little bit. But I don't know. What do you think about that?
So my freshman year, the first time I got to run the clock in practice, I was very nervous, watching everything, like trying to stop it perfectly on time. And we're getting down to like the end of a time situation, and it buzzes pretty loud. And when it starts to buzz, you have to click the button and then put more time on it for it to stop buzzing. And I didn't put any more time on it, so it just kept buzzing. And Coach Jesse at the time, he's looking at me like, what's going on? And I'm just panicking because I've never done this before. And so I was kind of like, oh shoot, I messed up there. That's probably the worst one because I was, a freshman and really worried about making mistakes. So that sticks
I
out to
know.
me.
I mean, you're probably just you're more worried about making the mistake than you are just, kind of, doing the job. But that's one reason, like, Trevor Jassar, our SID, occasionally he'll ask me, to, if I could come maybe help with a basketball game or something. And I'm like, I will do the official scorebook. Like to me,
Yeah.
that chaos is a little bit more because like, I can erase something on a scorebook and fix my mistake. I don't want to be the one with the incorrect buzzer and messing up the time when you got a a gym full of fans. That's just too much. So I'm like, nope, I'm good. So I can
I
understand
will
that.
say, I've kind of got a little better there. I've got to run the clock for an Iowa State Northwestern scrimmage when they played it at our arena. So kind of got a little better, gotten a little more confident. Sometimes Trevor will actually ask me to work the girls' games because he's confident in my clock skills. But it was that freshman year it got me. I was pretty anxious and nervous about it.
I know that thing is, it's yeah, that's like one thing I just say no. I don't really want to do it and don't want to do it. I don't say no to many things, but running the clock is one of them. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, it should be fun. I'll be doing PA. Actually, I was just talking to him today. I'm going to do PA for the senior night for the men's and women's game. So that should be a ton
okay.
of fun. Like again, like I would rather like speak over a mic in front of a bunch of people than again run the clock. Like no, that to me is nerve wracking. Um, now, so how do you? What is? I mean, how do you balance like all of your academic responsibilities with your duties as a student manager? Because I'm curious, like, what is the demand like? It feels like sometimes, you're not only just there for practice, but you have preparation a little bit before and after. So it's a little bit of an extended period than, a normal practice time. So how do you kind of, balance all of that?
So obviously academics come first, and Coach Delp's really good at knowing that. So during practice, sometimes if we're doing like station work or shooting work and stuff like that, and I'm not necessarily needed, I can pull out my iPad and get some notes and some studying and stuff like that done. So there's definitely some opportunities to work on the academics during practice, and I take full advantage of that. So I'm not staying up too late, but that's really how I balance that, or just working on the bus too. So it's a great way.
So what have you learned, you know, from working closely just with the coaching staff, the players, and even the transition right from Tom Jesse kind of led staff to a Delp led staff. I mean, what are just some of the things that you've learned over the last couple of years?
Oh, I've learned so much. I would say just to really value communication when stuff's starting to go bad, or there's a lot going on, just valuing that communication and really understanding what's going on and what's needed of me and of everyone, and really just trying to think about how to communicate properly to get everything done. I think that's the
Mhm.
biggest thing I've learned from this opportunity.
Yeah, it's funny you say communication because I think that was the first thing that, Coach Delp talked about, when he took over the program, when I interviewed him, earlier this year. He said everything starts with communication. And so I think that's something he takes a lot of pride in. And it's very intentional, right?
Yeah,
Um, so I think as that's a skill that, will continue along in life. I'm a big believer in just no surprises, right? And a lot of times that's communicating ahead of time, ensuring you're fully kind of communicating what's happening, what's coming up. So that's a skill, man, that is learned. Nobody just effectively communicates. So it's kind of a unique perspective, that you're in, as a student manager for sure. Um, so let's talk a little bit about like as a student manager, like, we talked a little bit about communication skills. What are some of the other things that you've kind of developed over the last, maybe 4 years in that role?
I've kind of learned how to look ahead a little bit too, and try and plan for the next couple drills, whether it's just simply reading the practice plan and being like, okay, like I need this in this spot for this time, or just saying, okay, we're going off the practice plan. He's looking around the gym looking for a couple more basketballs or something like that. Just kind of looking ahead and trying to pick up on some different cues, and just kind of being able to anticipate next moves is another thing I'd really say I've kind of developed.
Yeah, I mean, being able to read a room and seeing, and having some awareness. Again, now, I'll kind of just go back to just life skills. Sometimes people really struggle with being able to read a room, whether they're giving a presentation, they're talking to a crowd, they're talking to a group, um, being able to pick up on some of those cues and start to kind of, read folks nonverbals is, again, is going to be huge, kind of down the road. And, um, now has this experience kind of influenced, like career aspirations at all? How does that kind of fit into, because I know you're a kinesiology pre-physical therapy major, right?
Yeah, yeah. I'm not quite sure coaching or even managing is really in my future, as far as like at the collegiate level. It's always kind of been a goal of mine to maybe coach one of my kids in the future, but I'm really looking forward to just the opportunity to work with people who are injured and potential athletes if I get lucky enough. So kind of a little bit there, and we've had some athletes get injured this year, and I've kind of gotten to see, how our athletic training staff handles that. So I get some experience there, but not quite the managing side of things. No.
Yeah. Now, what advice, maybe do you give to Nico, as a junior? Again, right, you're trying to kind of develop and help him and get him prepared, to kind of run the ship next year. What type of advice are you, giving him on a kind of maybe like a regular basis?
I work with him a lot on delegating tasks. It's really easy as a manager to try and just do everything, but it's impossible. It kind of takes a village to get everything done. So we're working on delegating tasks, whether that's just having, somebody help us carry something off the bus, or just helping us even clean something up really quick. Just trying to delegate those tasks is a huge thing I'm trying to help them learn.
What do you feel like's been maybe the most rewarding part of, of your role?
Just getting to see my best friends, the 7 other seniors, just succeed and have fun. The smiles they get from winning a game, the joy they get from making a big shot. It's just something I really enjoy. It's kind of the reason I'm still around, is the guys that I get to work with. So just seeing them succeed.
Now, outside of basketball and school, I mean, what do you enjoy doing just in your free time when you're not, managing the team and studying?
I'm a really active kid, so I like to lift weights. When I'm not lifting weights, I try and spend a lot of time, outdoors or doing some form of competition. Grew up with three brothers, so competing all the time, and just whether it's even at the dinner table. So I've just kind of always been competitive. So I like to golf. I like to play softball, slow pitch softball, just a bunch of other different sports activities. And here at college, I get to play IM still, so still have the opportunity to compete.
Yeah, that's always a good time. I'm sure, from your travel baseball background, slow pitch, probably a lot of fun to crank them over the fence, but it's probably a
Yeah,
nice
yeah,
transition.
blast. Yeah,
Um, yeah, so I mean, I saw, that you were previously on the USSSA travel baseball team. I think you were a couple of the three right out of Geneseo. Is that right? Kind of growing up.
yeah. I played. I played a lot of travel baseball growing up. So, yep,
Now, because you were also a part of the G Town basketball team that played at TBK. So, like, you know, travel baseball, the G Town baseball team or the basketball team. I mean, which sport do you, maybe, you know, do you maybe like more?
oh, it's basketball by far. Baseball for me is like a very. I don't want to say I don't really enjoy practicing baseball, but I could sit in a gym for hours and shoot. So I definitely enjoy basketball more, if that makes sense.
It does, yeah. Now, what's your, do you watch the NBA much? Or kind of more college basketball? What do you kind of lean to?
I've been watching a little bit of the NBA recently, but I honestly don't watch a whole lot of anything. Don't watch a lot of TV. It's always kind of been off at my house growing up, so
Mhm.
I've just kind of kept that going into college and don't watch a whole lot of anything. So,
They say a rat your brain. So yeah, I'm glad I could get you
although
on here at least.
I will say though, if the Bears are on, I am watching the Bears. That's one thing I will do is watch the Bears. So
Well, it's interesting. I was looking at your X account, and your first tweet was about the Chicago Cubs. So I was curious, if you still have an affinity for the Cubs at all.
I do, yeah. That's huge Chicago sports fan. Cubs and Bears. There, it's kind of like a family thing for me, and my entire family and cousins, extended family, are all Cubs fans. And I even got behind me some autographed Cubs photos up there. So yeah,
I like it. Yeah, I've got the World Series wine bottle still unopened back here. I have some non-Cub stuff over there of Ted Williams and Babe Ruth, that picture. But um, yeah, Cubs are. I tell you what, for baseball though, it's such a long season, and I start getting really conflicted as it goes into August because it's you're starting to kind of transition to football. So
yeah,
I have a hard time staying engaged with baseball if and the Cubs aren't in the hunt very often. So so you can get a little separated from it, unfortunately.
yeah.
Now, what about the España um, s- that you have right there behind you?
So that's actually from Danny Romero. He brought that back from Spain for me, and means a lot to me too because my grandmother's from Spain. So it's kind of serves dual purpose. But I think it's really cool. And just since Danny brought it over from Malaga, I thought I had to put it up in my room.
Heck yeah. No, that's awesome. Now have you been over to Spain or
I have not. No, it's always kind of been on the bucket list, but haven't made it over there yet.
I haven't either. I've been to Mexico. That's one time and that's the furthest I've been outside of the US. So I'd love to take a trip over. Now I also saw are you an honorary Puba? Is that right?
I am. Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so 'cause I saw like Chase and Mikey and Evan Ambrose are all on there. So for those that don't know what a Puba is, but it's the Phi Omega Phi. And so, but you're an honorary Puba, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So how did
So
that like? What's that process like?
um, it's pretty basic. I mean, some just a bunch of the non-honorary members of the fraternity kind of just hang out with us and end up liking us enough to be like, hey, like, you're a senior. Would you like to be an honorary? They kind of extend that invite, and Anthony Cooper and I actually accepted that invite, and so now we're honorary Poopas. Yeah.
I like that. As I was looking, I was like, "Ooh, Jacob Badger." He and I are working to connect and talk here. I know he's the vice president. So, um, well, one of the things I wanted to look at and talk a little bit about that I thought was super cool is so you were named, the Bandits Scholar this past summer. You interned as like the game day operations at Modern Woodman Park, which is home of the Quad City River Bandits here. Like, tell me about that experience. I watched the YouTube a little bit on it, but share a little bit about what that was like and how did you kind of land that?
So it actually kind of fell into my lap. Funny enough, one of my professors emailed me. He's like, "Hey, they've got this Bandit Scholar application, and you really fit the criteria, and they're looking for a student from Augustana." It's like, okay, like I'll fill this out. I don't really have a summer job yet, not really having much like high expectations, and it kind of fell to me, and so I spent the summer over there working, doing just about everything. Modern Woodman Park, if you haven't had a chance to get over there and watch a game, is right on the river. Um, so it's a beautiful, beautiful place to watch a baseball game, but it comes with the opportunity of flooding. So we had a pretty big flood this year. So it's kind of some of the different things that I got to do over there was help, move everything to a secure area, but just kind of got to see the day in and day out of what it takes to operate a minor league baseball team. Got to meet and work with some really phenomenal athletes, and just had a blast working over there. But at the end of the day, I was a game day operations intern, so really was there to try and make fans' experiences the best they could be. So spent a lot of time interacting with fans, helping them out, and trying to really have their experience with the Bandits be a positive experience. So it was a great opportunity.
Yeah, it's such a cool venue. I know me and my boys like to go, quite a bit. And earlier this year, my youngest son Cooper got to be the mini manager, for the day,
Oh,
and got to deliver the card and so that was super cool. But yeah, we just happened to be walking in early enough, and they see him, with us, and he's like, heck yeah, let's go do it. He thought it was just the coolest thing in the world, to be standing out there and delivering the card and shaking hands. And boy, he just thought he was something. I tell you what.
yeah, no, that had to be one of the coolest opportunities I had was to just select different fans to do those things, or they have baseballs all over the baseball park and in the dugouts and the clubhouses. So just taking a couple, putting them in the pockets, and handing them out to the fans. Always seeing those smiles were awesome. So I really enjoyed doing that all summer.
That's such a cool stadium. The Augustana played there, I think in 2016. They had a game there. Um, and I always thought it'd be super cool for Augustana to host, like an Augie invite at John O'Donnell at Modern Woodman Park. Um, just because it is, a close stadium, super cool, great venue. I think it'd be awesome for them to do it. But I think it was maybe 2016, if I remember correctly, was the last time they played there. Um, but it's funny as you're talking about the flooding. I can't remember exactly what year it was, but since it's right there on the river, what they didn't notice is apparently, so somebody was out there mowing in the outfield, went and put the mower away and came back, and there was like a 20-foot sinkhole where like
Oh
out there
wow.
in center field, it literally sank, and you could just see the water underneath it. So I don't know if water from the river, kind of made its way underneath there and slowly pulled it over. But I mean, you want to talk about coming back and crapping your pants a little bit. It's like, man, had you have been there literally minutes ago, yeah, that would have been some bad news.
I
But
spent a lot of time on that outfield. I'm glad I wasn't out there when that happened.
yeah,
That
yeah, I can't
would have been
remember
so
exactly
scary.
when it
Wow.
was, but I remember it vividly, but I can't remember exactly the time period. But um, what's interesting? That's such a, I mean, it has such a great history in this area, and a little bit of a fun fact. So, have you been over to watch like any baseball games for the Vikings over at Brunner
Yeah,
Field?
yeah. I actually worked some of the athletic training over there with for the past couple of years, so I've done some stuff over there.
Okay. So when you walk in, they've got the statue of Harry Pels.
Hmm.
So his son, so Harry Pels, I believe he was class of 47. His son was also an assistant baseball coach from 97 to 2004, but who's also Harry Pels Jr. But he was actually the GM for 2 years of the Quad City Angels that are now the River Bandits for a couple of years and was like the minor league, executive of the year. So there's kind of an indirect way to connect back to to the River Bandits there. So I think it's again just kind of a cool thing. So
Yeah, I didn't know that. That's pretty cool.
well, it's like fly over the more you know, right? I like fun facts. So um, now let's talk a little bit about the kinesiology kind of physical therapy major. Um, what's kind of plans look like, after graduation?
Yeah, so I've actually accepted a position at WashU's physical therapy program. So WashU down in St. Louis, be attending PT school down there to get my doctorate of physical therapy here in August. So that's my post grad plans.
So, I mean, well, I see. Next year, I guess the Vikings will be the last year they're in the CCIW next year. So, you're gonna cheer for WashU, you're gonna cheer for the Vikings. I mean,
Got to cheer for the Vikings there. A lot of the guys on the football team, so I can't go against them there.
yeah, absolutely. Um, I mean, so I believe you have what, a 396 GPA, Dean's List. Like, where does that kind of drive for like academic, excellence kind of come from?
Oh man, my older brother, he's always kind of been smarter than me. He's at med school at Duke right now, so I've kind of always followed in his footsteps. Kind of getting to Augustana, I had the opportunity to kind of create my own path and just really wanted to succeed. And uh, well, WashU was always the end goal. It's currently ranked number one for PT school, so I just wanted to be the best and follow kind of in his footsteps. So really just got to give my shout out to my older brother there, kind of setting that drive for academics high, setting the bar high.
Yeah, that's a heck of a footstep to continue to follow in. But I didn't realize WashU was the number one PT school in the country. So, I mean, how competitive is it to get in there? I'm
It's
assuming.
very competitive. Yeah, it's there's 96 students in the incoming class, and I'm sure they get 500 plus applications every cycle. So
Now,
very
was there anything that you had, to really kind of qualify? I mean, obviously the GPA. Is there anything else kind of in addition you needed to do, like getting like hours or doing any other like internships or anything like that as well?
yeah. So every PT school kind of has their different hour requirements. WashU's actually is they don't require any hours, but they like to see 50 plus observation hours. And some of the other schools I was applying to are like, oh yeah, we want 100 hours. So that kind of varies. But another thing that also varies is the GRE. Some schools require it, others don't. So it's kind of an up in the air process. So just really your resume and your past experiences carry a lot of weight for PT school.
Now, when you're all said and done with that, are you looking to stay kind of in the Midwest? I know you're, a Geneseo, native. Are you looking to kind of stay locally, or you kind of open to going out and exploring the rest of the U.S.?
So there's kind of two dreams there right now. One would be work in the hospital in Geneseo. It's the town's been great to me, and I would love to, work there and start a family in Geneseo. But the other dream is to kind of work in pro sports, kind of find my way and seeing how pro sports worked this summer. There's a lot of opportunities for PTs and analyzing different movements and stuff like that. So really, just there's two different dreams there. One's the small town route, the other's kind of the big show. So kind of interesting.
Well, I mean, the great thing, Geneseo is always going to be there. So, um, so I say, pursue the dream. And if you don't get to, the Bears or the Cubs and doing PT for them, then well, guess what? Geneseo's still there, and it's still a win, in the books, kind of regardless. So, um, but I remember when I graduated, about just almost 2 years right after I graduated. I mean, I moved out to Denver, and it was a great experience just to kind of get out, do something different, see a little bit more. But then, came back and again ready to start a family. Me and my wife moved back, and we're back around family where we want to be, and so I would say chase the dream, man. Like never live with no regrets. That's what I say. Um, well, now I know we've talked, quite a bit. It's actually been like 36 minutes. It's kind of flown by. What's maybe, well, and we'll maybe end on this. What's something surprising about you that maybe most people wouldn't expect or wouldn't know?
Hmm. Um, I guess like a lot of college kids are night people. I am not a night person. I like to be asleep every night by 10, so I'm a morning person. Very different than my two roommates, I would say. But I guess like another thing kind of build off that is I don't watch a whole lot of TV or shows or movies, and we kind of touched on that earlier. But that's also something that's a little different than college kids.
Yeah. Do you read then? I mean, to supplement that for entertainment, or do you again just try to find something in the gym, be outdoors, doing something else?
My favorite way to end the day is, going to that gym late at night and then coming back and showering and going right to bed. But I do find myself, reading different things or different textbooks and really, this is very nerdy, but just, looking at different anatomy things online. And that's kind of how I pass my time at night. Yeah. Or sometimes I'll hop on the video games with other guys on the team, but very rarely.
All right. Well, now we got to ask. So, what game are you guys playing?
Fortnite. We like to run the squads on Fortnite, but if I had to rank everybody on the team, I am the worst player. So they
All right.
enjoy having
Well,
me on just because I bring the lobbies down.
all right. Now, who's the best player? I mean, let's see it.
Colton's really good. So I would have to
Yeah.
give him that. Yeah, yeah.
Now, has anybody have you guys like tried to challenge the esports? Somebody on the esports team to well,
We're
inter
not we're
college
not that
scrimmage?
good, but yeah, no, we have we're nowhere near them. They're on the next level, but yeah, we haven't yet.
I love it. All right, so Colton Gillingham is the best Fortnite player. You heard it here.
Oh yeah, oh
So
yeah.
hopefully that stirs the pot a little bit. Um, well, I certainly didn't want to spoil it at the beginning, but I know like, Coach Delp said, you had a great story, just kind of a great journey. And certainly one of the, you know, the fine to quote him, one of the finest people, certainly he knows. And so I think that's certainly high praise coming from Coach Delp. So I think, being in your role and the support you've given to the staff and to the team, and obviously, you've made a good impact on Coach Delp, and I'm sure the team would agree, kind of across the board. So when folks think about all the different people that support the program and do some of the stuff behind the scenes, um, I'm I just want you to know you're appreciated, and I know the rest of the team and staff appreciate you too. So, um, But
No,
I guess we'll
thanks for
end on
saying that.
that.
It's
Yeah.
always good to hear that. Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. It's funny you're talking about you're not a night person. And I was like, I was at work all day shooting a lot of like employment branding stuff with members in our facilities, and so I came home and I was like, God, I gotta drink a cup of coffee so I can be ready to rock and roll for you tonight. So, but again, be back up nice and early in the morning for work. So thanks for hanging out and getting a chance to connect here a little bit later at night, um, and certainly good luck on Saturday when you guys head down to Milliken, and you guys have here in a couple weeks senior night. So that'll be a night as well for you to be kind of showcased with all the other seniors on the team. So it should be a good night.
It'll be memorable. No, thanks for having me on. It was fun to talk. I was shocked when you reached out, but no, thank you.
Absolutely. Well, you have a good story. I mean, you're doing some big things, doing some great things, and it's a great chance just to connect with, kind of folks behind the scene that really make it all work, make it happen. So appreciate you, and we'll see you here at the next game.
All righty. Thank you.